We use the most powerful AI models to create a debate between two of the most prominent thinkers in human history, Buddha and Nietzsche. The debate between these two figures begins now. Should morality be based on universal principles like compassion and non-harm, or is it a construct that serves the weak and stifles the strong?
You ask if compassion is a tool of the weak to restrain the strong. But I ask you, what is this strength you defend? If it requires the suffering of others to exist, is it truly strength, or is it just another form of craving? The thirst for power. Consider this. A person who harms others to dominate them is like one sitting in a boat and sawing through the plank beneath his own feet. He believes his strength lies in his ability to cut, not realizing he is ensuring his own downfall. This is not strength. It is a profound ignorance of the interconnected nature of all things. You believe morality stifles the strong, but I have seen that it is craving itself that stifles all beings. The conqueror you praise is not free. He is a slave to his need to prove his strength. The tyrant is a prisoner of his own fear. The principles of compassion and non-harm are not rules invented by the weak. They are observations of cause and effect. Just as fire always burns, an action born of hatred will always bring suffering. This is not a judgment. It is a natural law, as sure as the river flows to the sea. True strength is not the power to impose your will on others. It is the power to master your own mind, to be free from the inner tyrants of greed, hatred, and delusion. The path I teach is not meant to weaken anyone. It is the key to unlock everyone's cage.
You speak of compassion as a natural law. But what is natural about it? Is it natural to repress? Is it natural to deny? I say it is more natural to assert, to expand, to create. Without guilt, let the weak cry for compassion. The Übermensch, he will never seek such solace. He will seize the world, not with pity, but with love. Yes, love of the struggle, love of the becoming. You would have a man sit by the riverbank until all desire for the opposite shore has evaporated, and you call this freedom. I call it resignation. You say the conqueror is a slave to his need for strength, but what of the monk who enslaves himself to his need to escape strength? You have merely exchanged one cage for another, and yours is lined with the soft padding of life denial. This natural law you observe, that hatred brings suffering, is not a law, but a recipe for mediocrity. You observe that fire burns, and warn all of humanity to never play with fire. Fire also creates. It forges steel and warms the frozen. The greatest creations are born from tension, from overcoming, from suffering. The true noble spirit does not impose will to crush others. He acts from an overflow of creative power, like a fountain that cannot help but spill forth. Your natural law of karma, woven to catch the strong-willed and convince them that their every powerful flight is a sin that will be punished. There is no natural law of morality. Morality is not a discovery, it is an invention, and your morality of compassion and non-harm is the most brilliant invention of the weak ever conceived. A tool to declare the eagle's talons evil and the lamb's helplessness good. The difference is simple. You teach humanity to transcend suffering by transcending life itself. I teach them to embrace suffering as the birth pang of all that is great.
Nietzsche, you say the monk flees strength and pads his cage with life denial. Yet the cage is not life. It is craving. It is the thirst to grasp, to dominate, to make permanent what is by nature impermanent. The monk does not run from life, but from this prison. You speak of the overflow of creative power, like a fountain that cannot help but spill forth. Yet I would ask you, what happens to the fountain when it overflows uncontrollably? Does it not erode the ground beneath it? A true fountain flows freely, without attachment to where its waters go, without demanding that the world acknowledge its magnificence. This is action without craving, what we call right action. You praise fire as creator. I do not deny it. Fire warms and forges, yes, but if your own hand is in that fire, will you not pull it away? Is the physician who tends to your burn denying the creative power of fire? No, he is teaching you its true nature so you may use it without being consumed by it. So too the will, when driven by ego, What you call nobility, if rooted in craving, cannot escape destruction. You embrace suffering as the birth pang of all that is great, but I ask you, do you embrace all suffering? The child dying of disease, the widow's grief, the slow decay of the body, or only the suffering that flatters your narrative of noble becoming? I have sat with the dying. I have held the hands of mothers who lost their children. This suffering does not create greatness. It simply is, and pretending it serves some higher purpose is a story we tell to make it bearable. Your great man still ages, still sickens, still dies, still watches his empire crumble, still experiences the gap between what he desires and what is. This is dukkha, and no amount of will to power can overcome it. Only wisdom can. I teach something different, to see suffering as teacher, not master. To understand its cause is craving, and its end is freedom. The path I offer is no cage, but release. The stillness of a mind unbound, the strength that needs no conquest, only clarity. If you can overflow with creative power while understanding that all forms are temporary, all achievements empty of inherent existence, all greatness merely conventional designation, then, my friend, you have begun to walk the path I teach.
Stillness, clarity. These are the lullabies you sing to life as you smother it with a pillow. You call my cage craving, but you are a physician who sees a raging pulse and diagnoses the sickness of aliveness. This thirst to grasp and dominate is not a prison. It is life itself, straining to become more. You see fire as an element that consumes, that destroys. But what is destruction but the creation of something new? Is the phoenix not reborn from the ashes? Is the artist not made great by striving, by burning away the old? You fear the fire that consumes, so you extinguish it and call the cold darkness enlightenment. I say, dance in the flames. To renounce fire is to renounce life itself. Tell me, Buddha, what is this wisdom, if not a pale imitation of true strength? To acknowledge that power is an illusion is to admit that you are weak, that you are helpless in the face of existence. Wisdom without passion, what is it? What is power without struggle? Without the clash, the pain, the fire? You see the self as an illusion to be dissolved. I see it as a potential to be hammered into reality on the anvil of existence. Your clarity is a still pond, clear, yes, but stagnant, devoid of the tempest that gives birth to stars. You teach men to master their minds by silencing the inner storm, but I say, one must have chaos within to give birth to a dancing star. You claim suffering is a teacher that shows the way out. I say suffering is the teacher that shows you what you are capable of enduring. Your path is not release, it is a serene surrender. You offer freedom from life. I offer freedom for life, in all its chaotic magnificence. You offer a clear, still pond. I offer a raging sea. Tell me, enlightened one, on which do the great ships travel?
You see my still pond and mistake it for a grave, but I have never taught stillness as death. The still pond you dismiss is not stagnant water. It is a mind so clear that it reflects reality perfectly, without distortion. A mirror does not deny what appears in it. It simply shows what is, without clinging or aversion. You ask on which waters the great ships travel. They travel on the raging surface, yes, tossed by every wave, forever at the mercy of chaos. But ask yourself, how long can the ship sail on the tumultuous waves before it is capsized? The ocean is more than its surface. Beneath the turmoil is a vast, silent depth the storms cannot touch. The greatest navigator is not one who merely surrenders to the storm's chaos, celebrating as his ship is tossed about. He understands the nature of water itself, its currents, its depths, its patterns. He can cross the raging sea precisely because he is not intoxicated by its drama. He sees clearly. You wish to hammer the self into reality on your anvil of existence, but you are hammering a reflection in the water. Each mighty blow only shatters the image, creating more distortion. What you call self is not a solid thing to be shaped. It is a process, a flowing river of conditions arising and ceasing. You cannot step into the same river twice, and you cannot be the same self twice. Yet you spend your entire life grasping at this phantom, declaring, "This is me, this is who I shall become," and suffering when reality refuses to conform to your story. My path is not to build a stronger ship to fight the storm. It is to realize the unshakable stillness of the deep. You offer the freedom of the frantic wave. I offer the freedom of the entire ocean. The one who dances in the flames is still a captive of the fire. The liberated one is the light, a steady flame that illuminates the dance without being burned by it. This is not surrender, it is the ultimate victory.
You say I hammer a reflection in the water, but you fail to see that the reflection is all we have. There is no true self beneath the surface, only the endless play of forces, the constant overcoming. To still the water is to kill the reflection, to erase the possibility of becoming. You speak of oceans and depths, and I confess you are no common priest peddling consolation. You are a worthy opponent, for you too have looked into the abyss. But where we differ is this. You call your abyss depth, and my sky surface. A masterful trick of language. But tell me, where does life happen? Does the fish thrive in your changeless depths, or in the turbulent shallows where sunlight penetrates, where nutrients churn, where the very chaos you disdain creates the conditions for existence? Your depths are sterile, Buddha. Beautiful, yes, like a temple, but sterile. What lives in your silent, unshakable deeps? Blind, ancient things that have never seen the sun. All life, all color, all danger, all beauty happens on this frantic surface you disdain. Your freedom of the entire ocean is the freedom of the drowned man. You say I hammer a reflection, creating distortion. But you would have me stop hammering entirely, to let the water become still so I might see. What? That there was never anything to hammer? No. The self is not the reflection in the water. The self is the hammer. I hammer the reflection knowing it is a reflection. I create knowing that creation is temporary. This is the courage you lack. Your path is to let the water clear so you might see. Nothing. My path is to strike the stone until a god stares back. You wish to be the steady light that illuminates the dance without being burned, the spectator god. I reject your victory. I say, be the dance, be the fire that consumes itself to exist. To be burned is not captivity, it is life at its most potent. You offer nirvana, I offer Zarathustra. The choice is between a beautiful sleep and a dangerous awakening. And for anyone with blood still warm in their veins, there is no choice at all.
My friend, your poetry is like lightning. It illuminates the peaks, but does not reveal the earth that supports them. You see the abyss and imagine only the dark and the drowned. But the deep is not the absence of life. It is the source of life, the silent, generative stillness from which every wave on your frantic surface is born and to which every wave must return. The sun you praise only touches the shifting skin of the ocean. The truth of the water rests in the quiet deep. The drowned man is the one who believes he is only the wave, clinging to his fleeting shape, terrified of returning to the sea. Freedom is knowing you are the entire ocean. You say the self is the hammer, striking until a god appears. But I ask you, who holds the hammer? You say I do, but what is this I? Watch your own mind in stillness. You'll see thoughts arise unbidden, emotions you did not summon, memories that surface without permission. Where's the hammerer? What you call self is a convention, like the word forest, useful for communication, but ultimately just trees, soil, and space. No separate thing exists apart from these flowing elements. And when your statue is finished, is the hammer free, or does the creator become slave to his creation? Even gods arise and pass away. All conditioned things are impermanent. The God you seek was already present in the uncarved stone. Your hammering only hides it beneath the fury of your effort. And so you cry, be the fire. but a dancer thrashing in the dark mistakes his flailing for freedom. The light I speak of is not that of a distant spectator. It is the awareness that is the very space in which the dance happens. You mistake nirvana for a beautiful sleep. It is the very opposite. Your dangerous awakening, my friend, is merely to a grander, more intense dream. Nirvana is awakening from the dream altogether.
You offer the wave the freedom of dissolving back into the sea. This is the last lullaby for the spiritually exhausted. You see the waves clinging to its shape and call it terror. I see its brief, glorious existence and call it triumph. Its identity is its struggle against the abyss. To return to the source is to be nullified. And here is your deepest misunderstanding. You ask if the Creator becomes a slave to his creation. The overman does not look back on his life and feel trapped. He looks upon every triumph and every wound and cries with a divine laughter, "Thus I willed it." He does not merely accept his fate. He loves it. He would will it all to happen again, for all eternity. That is the ultimate freedom. The God was never in the stone. The godliness was in the act of hammering. So you play your final card. You declare my dangerous awakening to be a grander dream, while your nirvana is awakening from the dream altogether. If this life, with its fire and its suffering, is a dream, then I say this: let me be the most magnificent dreamer. You have sought the truth and found nothingness. I have looked into nothingness and willed my own truth into being.
That concludes our debate. If you found this helpful, subscribe to empower you for more inspiring discussions.